where we're feeling the development pressures. So what I would like to see, and I don't know if I would have support for this, but there's no way we could take on looking at our tree ordinance right now because we've got a transportation master plan, we've got the comprehensive plan starting, and which will also include the recreation and parks plan. But I think we need to be set up for the future when we are going to do an update to the ordinance. I think the last time that was updated was 2014 or 15. And is there a way that we could track, Bridget, the amount of acres that are associated with each of these that are on here?
Yeah, we already have that. So if you want to see acres, we can provide that table.
It would be interesting if we pulled that out, and then we would know what to focus on for the areas that are going to be experiencing the pressure of redevelopment. So I think that having those metrics are going to be very important as we go forward and look at what can we do to help as we get these big developments going in.
Yep, and we definitely have the acres. That's how we came up with the percentages, so no problem.
Yeah, so that would be helpful because I think that while we have a good percentage overall, it's not reflective. If you look at the table, the other table by district, some districts are different than others as well. So that's all. If you could, would you be able to? Is that easy to share that data? Is that available?
Yeah. We absolutely have it already. So it's just in a different Excel shape. Yeah.
Okay, and it's by district, and it's also by the.
So we have
zoning?
this table based on acres.
Okay. Because that'll help with to know where we should focus in the future. I think that's going to be really important.
Great.
Ms. Ford.
Just a couple questions. And thank you for the presentation. This is my first tree canopy presentation. So if my questions need to go somewhere else, you can let me know. So I also was surprised that our percentage had gone up because I feel like there's lots of trees coming down. So I share Councilmember Paulson's question about that. I do understand the part about how tree canopy has improved in the interstate areas where they had taken things down and now planted. Is there a residential example that you have, or is that increase of 2% entirely attributable to that?
I think so. And if we compare it like to 2017, in 2017, there was Aria, City Springs, the two-story Starbucks area, Atwater, which is Allen Road at Lake Forest, Glen Perimeter, which is Glen Ridge at 285, Springwood Connector, and 4600 Roswell Road apartments. Those were all under construction at that point. So all of that has been replanted and growing since then. Whereas here for the 2025, it did not include the Sandy Springs United Methodist Hillcrest area. That was not under redevelopment at that during this canopy study. So that was still fully it had not been uncanopied, I guess. But it did include Embassy Row and the Mount Vernon Johnson Ferry widening project, as well as North Springs High School. But those were the main areas where we saw clear cuts in 2025. Everything else, it seems to be just they're planting fast-growing trees, so the canopy grows much faster. And Willie can kind of help talk to that as well in terms of like the trees that he is planting throughout the city.
Thank you for that.
Fast growers,
for additional context. And then does this lead you to want to make a recommendation for us? Like, oh, we want to get our percentage up to this and how we could get there?
So that would be Willie on the policy, and it's all you.
All right, Mayor, Council, thank you for your time today. I just want to address a few points. The first one being it's hard to believe that the 2% increase could happen, seeing what's actually happening in situ on the ground, right? And one thing I want to remind people is during a lot of these developments, we're removing edge trees, which are pretty skinny and don't contribute a ton to the canopy. And usually right behind them are other trees waiting to branch out. And so we lose some trees that are not doing so well right next to the sidewalk under a lot of stress. You remove those trees for whatever reason, for whatever development, and you start to see some of the hardwoods behind those trees start to stretch out a little bit. And so even with some removal, there is still canopy reclamation. The best park you can see this is actually big trees. When the larger trees fall down, smaller trees, younger trees can actually come up towards that canopy gap in the sunlight. And so there are mechanisms naturally that may actually be contributing to this restoration of the canopy. And for that second question, like targets for what we should be doing, nationally, internationally, there has never been a consensus on what is the right number for proper or most efficient canopy coverage. With the information that we know, the more, the better. But more than that, Sandy Springs is positioned in a place that we should be concerned with the quality of the canopy, not just the quantity. You know, what we're doing right now is trying to reduce the amount of overgrown pine forest that we find in some of our city council districts and actually create a biodiverse, ecologically resilient forest. And what this does, it continues to replenish that canopy year over year over year. So even if there is a storm, there's a blip in one of these studies, it can naturally regenerate. And so those are the things that we're really trying to target. And the number one thing that we can do to limit loss of canopy is to really focus in on our backyards. I've said it to you guys a million times, 95% of that urban canopy is on private land. And so we can do what we can, but at the end, it is a top-down policy decision to preserve more or less of our canopy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chinsky.
Yeah, just a couple comments. So I think probably what a couple of us are thinking about is we hear from constituents whenever there's a lot that's clear-cut, especially in a residential area, in part because it's so visible. So to see the data, I find very helpful to actually understand what's going on rather than sort of rely just on our eyes and maybe our lying eyes, and we can actually see the data, so this is really helpful. For future splicing, I might suggest, like, looking at this if we omitted some of the, I don't want to say anomalies, but like in District 6, the Palisades area is a very large forest that is never going to be cut because it's not going to be developed. Perhaps some areas in the north end of the city along the river could also be. I'd just be curious, like in the non-quote-unquote park areas of the city, how the canopy would be also evolving. I don't know if that's possible to do. I don't know if that would be helpful, but it's just something on my mind.
So on the technical side, we absolutely can. Historically, we've kept it in because it does contribute to the overall canopy of the city.
Yeah, I mean, a relative canopy coverage would be an interesting tool to have for sure. But I believe that looking at the existing canopy coverage map and studies, the areas that have a dearth of canopy or need attention are already visible. You know, if we need to reach for higher level fruit later on, we may pursue that. But for right now, we know what the pain points are.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Kelly.
I have one question about one data point. So District 2 RX, it's like a 60% increase in canopy. And I'd love to know what that's about. You probably don't have that information like with you right now, but I'd love if you'd follow up. Just curious about what that is because I don't think we see anything like it in this data set at all. So. Yeah.
Right. Yes, we can absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Mueller?
So, Mr. Chinsky, that's what I was asking about when I said pull out the PK and a conservation so that we could focus on other areas and are there parts of the city that we may want to consider doing some, there are policy changes that could help with that.
Mr. Paulson?
One final comment. I think this is fantastic that we as a city are looking at this to the level that we're looking at. So if we're asking you questions, we're not picking on you. We're just trying to understand this better, okay? So thank you for the good work you're doing here. This is very interesting stuff. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving to design guidelines draft update. Mr. Anspach.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening. Matthew Ansfall, Senior Planner, Project Manager for Design Guidelines. Really just here at the moment to introduce you once again to someone you're probably pretty familiar with, Security Ghosh with RHI. He's the consultant for this project, and he will give you the update tonight on those design guidelines.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Security Ghosh. I'm a principal with RHI. And today we are going to give you a very quick, or rather a brief progress update on the design guidelines. We have some exciting news to share with you on the guidelines. We're going to share with you the focus of the guidelines that we have already shared with you, how we have heard from the community, and what we have heard from the community, how we have taken that and created the guidelines based on what we have heard. And then finally, we will open up for discussions. As you already know, the guidelines are for the commercial districts. Those are going to be applied not only at the commercial districts, but also the apartments and the multifamily areas and the townhomes. These are the areas where the guidelines are going to be applied for development and redevelopment. This is an advisory in nature. All of the areas that are in color that you can see in here, those are the areas that the guidelines are going to be applied, starting from North End, City Springs, Greater Central Perimeter, Crossroads, Neighborhood Village, and Powers Ferry to the west. We are towards the end of the process. We had gone through a year-long process, and I'm happy to share that we have a draft document that is going to be uploaded to the website, and you will probably see that tomorrow morning. That draft guidelines document is going to be up there for a month for public review. It is the public review period is up till May 15th, 2026. While we are going through that public review, we are also tweaking some of the things within the guidelines based on the discussions with the staff. We have gone through a lot of public process. These are some of the listing of that. We started with the mayor and the council back in 2024, end of 2024, early 2025. We had a lot of stakeholder meetings. We met with neighborhood residents, the business owners, the developers, the real estate folks, design folks, architects, landscape architects, you name it, we have met with a lot of those folks. With regards to the public meetings, we had gone through 5 rounds of public meetings. For each round, we had a public meeting, followed by a survey, and in some cases, there were pop-ups. The final public meeting is going to be 2 days from tonight, that is on Thursday, and we'll be uploading all of the materials from the public meeting. Whoever is not going to be able to attend that public meeting, they will be able to view that online. You have seen this document organization during the retreat. Again, just very quickly, the guidelines document, how it is laid out. It starts with the overall vision and the framework, and there are 3 specific elements to the guidelines. One is the public realm, which are the sidewalk areas, the private realm, which are the horizontal surfaces within the private properties, and the buildings. And each one of those 3 realms has specific components. For example, in the streetscape, you have paving, furnishings, trees, and plantings, and each one of those components has the objectives and the specific strategies and the guidelines. And while there is a unifying feature for all of the different elements, there are some area-specific guidance, and those are reflected in the building design section. So this is encapsulation of what we have heard so far. And ideally, I would like to organize that into the first 2 are kind of the overall framework, which is creating a consistent and a clear guidelines. We have heard from the mayor and the council early on that the guidelines has to be flexible. It can be adaptable so that the developers and the property owners has a chance to express themselves within their own property. But the public realm is the one that starts to unify everything within the different districts. Numbers, the alphabet C through E is all about public realm and the horizontal surfaces, and F is about the better building design without over-regulating development. You have seen the overall framework. We have a lot of different character in the different districts. Whether it's the North End, it's more parkway-like. There's a lot of tree canopy. City Springs, where we are, we know this is the heart of the city, the core of the city. There is a specific character to the city. If you go to Perimeter, wider infrastructure, taller buildings, glass. On the south side of 285, it's more urban, Crossroads, Neighborhood Village, and Powers Ferry. While there are specific, distinct differences between the different districts, how we can connect together with the corridors, the Roswell roads, the Peachtree Danudi, and what are the specific elements that we can promote in those specific corridors. Also, the east-west routes, the Johnson Ferries, Mount Vernon, Hammond, Glenridge Connector. What are some of the elements that we can implement through the development and redevelopment that starts to unify the different districts of the city? I don't want to go into the details of the key considerations. It's just the similar elements of what we have heard. The main thing is the flexibility and adaptability of the code. And the other thing that we have heard very loud and clear is the term of Sandy Springs. We are not trying to promote something through the design guidelines that is not already here. Trying to understand what is the specific character of the different districts and trying to emphasize and highlight those through the design guidelines and kind of creating a bridge between the overall vision of the comp plan in the different character areas and trying to connect it with the legal requirements of the development code. There are many diagrams like this throughout the guidelines, how to make streets more comfortable, what are the different amenities that you can include. It's very visual, it's very graphic, so that somebody from the city side, from the applicant side, when they see some of these images throughout the whole document, they will start to get an idea about the character of the different places. This happens to be about the streetscape. There are furnishings, and the furnishings are laid out and organized through the different districts, whether it's City Springs, Central Perimeter, North End, Neighborhood Village, Crossroads, and Powers Ferry. And the furnishings includes benches, trash cans, bike racks, planters, lightings, and other elements. Trees became a big part of the discussion with the public. Everybody wanted to see more tree canopy. We just had a discussion about the tree canopy. There is a lot of guidelines regarding the spacing of trees, the clustering of trees, the types of trees, and there is a correlation between these guidelines and the technical manual. There is a lot of guidance in the technical manual regarding the trees. Strengthening connections and creating better gathering places. We have City Green as a great example, the Veterans Park on the other side of Roswell Road. How can we create better places within the city, trying to understand those specific mixed-use areas and trying to incorporate special places? What are the different elements to make those special places? How can we connect safely from door to door, from destination to destination? On the building side, we are talking about materials, the massing of the buildings, the articulation, transparency. It's all about creating features with shades and shadows so there is interest in the building. So somebody coming in, just like the building that we are in right now, it's a great example for the city. So we probably won't like any kind of flat facade. We probably won't like anything with just one material. What are the materials with brick and glass and all of those scenarios? There are specific guidelines and strategies related to that. Again, on the building side of things, there is a lot of images like this which shows the kind of character for each one of those districts. And all of these images are carefully curated based on the feedback that we have not only received from all of you, but also from the public. What are the most liked images? And within each one of those images, there are specific strategies that are embedded. It's not only the image that has to be replicated. It is what is the element of that image that you can start to identify that would create a better character to a place and a building. We also have a section, you don't have to read it, we also have a section on existing smaller scale buildings, retrofits, and adjacent site improvements. We know that not all of the guidelines are going to be applicable to bigger redevelopment and developments. We also want to make sure that the design guidelines can be applicable to smaller retrofits. And finally, the implementation section. So we are in discussion with the city and based on the city staff, and based on the discussions, we also have a chapter regarding the implementation of how it can be helpful to the development. And I kind of organize that into two different buckets. One is sharing the clear expectations through the guidelines. The legal document is the development code. There's a lot of written text and narrative. How you can graphically show that as part of the design guidelines is going to be important. And how you can add that, how you can use that in the pre-application stage when somebody is thinking about a specific development, they can start to use that just like what they can use for the zoning code, or the development code and the comprehensive plan. It helps in guiding rezonings and other plan developments. And helps to give you the information so that you can make informed decisions as far as approving or creating new development. It's as I mentioned before, you already have a OSI standard, Outdoor Amenity Space Improvement Standards. I think it's section 6 in the development code. The design guidelines is kind of a graphical representation of some of the OSI standards, and it helps to create a very clear picture to the applicant of what it means, what are some of the written words means as part of the guidelines. On the other side, what are the benefits? the benefits can be height bonuses. Sometimes it can be reduction of heights, which some of the property owners have been yearning for. Predictable approvals, lesser redesign, because we are setting the standards and setting the stage to help the applicants so that they can start on the pre-application process and it would be less redesign. This document is going to be vetted by the public and the leadership, so the city staff will have the better opportunity to go through the applications with the applicants in that way. Reduced risk for investments or reinvestments. Like I mentioned, clear expectations, and finally, stronger, more cohesive city. Creating a different brand. I mean, you already have a brand. How to highlight and emphasize that brand. And finally, the next steps, we are giving the same presentation to the Planning Commission tomorrow as a work session. Public meeting number 5, April 23rd, which is Thursday. The draft guidelines is going to be up on the website, like I mentioned before. And after the month's public review, as we're tweaking the whole guidelines document, we'll be refining that and bringing it back for the hearing process with the Planning Commission and the Mayor and the Council. And you can go to spr.gs/design to see the document. All of the documents from the public meetings are up there on the website. Questions?
Any questions? Dr. Kelly.
Okay, well, I'll start here. Looking at your next steps, what I'd like to understand is at what point will, for example, this body decide the posture we want to take with these design guidelines? I know we kind of talk about it, and I have a sense of where we are, but I don't think we've officially decided, like more formally. Does that happen sometime after the adoption or before the adoption? Yeah, that may be more of a staff question.
So from the approach, as he mentioned, we really are going toward more flexibility here, less on the requirement side. So that's something that I would love feedback from council as you all review the draft, come to the public meeting. Take a look at that, and if there are areas where you think, you know what, we actually should really be considering requiring this or changing some things in the code related to this. So we as staff are going through that same exercise now, and we'll be making some determinations about, oh, we really think this actually should go in the code, and that sort of thing. But it would be helpful to hear from you all if there are certain things that you really prioritize that you think should be a higher priority from an implementation standpoint. So
Okay.
now is
So
the
we're
time.
negotiating that now.
Yeah.
To some degree. Yep, I got you. Let me also ask, this is sort of a timeline question. You mentioned, you know, it's good to catch projects in the pre-application phase. I kind of read that. So I'm sitting here, and as you speak, I picture parcels of land in my district, and they have little things going on with them. I want to be realistic. Would it be fair to assume that anything that is currently in process we won't be able to, like, should I get that thought out of my head that we might be, you know?
So I think a lot of what you see here are things that staff are thinking about anyway. And so most of the projects, staff try to have that early feedback, early intervention. That's really what we're talking about here. There are a lot of conversations that happen typically before a project comes in or files something, where they're coming in talking to staff. Is this compliant? Does this work? Can I do this? And so those are the conversations where we really hope these guidelines can be most effective. So yes, they're not going to get quite the same treatment, but I would generally say staff are thinking about these things as they have those conversations even now.
Okay, even if, you know, informally, I guess you all
Yeah.
are on top of that. That helps. Okay. Just want to talk about implementation for a second, because once we adopt, all I'm going to be thinking about, and quite frankly, even my constituents, when we talk about this, they always just want to know, well, how are you going to approach implementation? You know, what is going to be our strategy? But that may go back to what you just mentioned about, you know, deciding what's going to be more prescriptive and what's not. But I'd also like to get a better understanding almost comprehensively of like what the menu of incentives are. Maybe that'll be something that happens after adoption, once we have a piece of work. But I am very interested in our strategy around implementation and how we measure it.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we are looking at a couple of different things, and one of the conversations that we've had is sort of like, let's figure out where we need to prioritize, and maybe there are text amendments that come along with that if there are some things that we feel like we need to require or change about the code. But then, of course, there's also this sort of like, let's see how these things work, and if we're not getting development that's receptive to this very flexible model, then maybe we come back to you all and say, okay, we're not having as much success as we had hoped. We want to codify a few more of these things, but the approach up front is to try and be more flexible. One of the other things that council has talked a lot about that's included in your City Springs master plan is for us to evaluate a facade improvement program.
Right.
So that is a tangible incentive that we will be looking at and talking with you all about more as we finalize all of this work.
Okay, great. So you would say then it would be a matter of taking the draft and kind of, that would be the best document for us to interface with.
Yes.
To do that kind of deep dive that you're mentioning.
Absolutely. Yes, now is the time.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank
you.
Any other issues that the council wishes to bring to the work session? All right, hearing none, we'll move to regular order. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sandy Springs City Council to order for Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. Will the city clerk please make the announcement to call the roll?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First, I would like to remind those in attendance to continue to silence all cell phones or other electronic devices at this time. Individuals who would like to provide public comment at a city council meeting are required to complete and submit those public comment cards in advance of the meeting. Public comment cards are always available online and at the chamber entrance. Just a reminder to those who do provide public comment, you may be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak on your single chosen topic. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Rusty Paul.
Present.
Councilmember John Paulson. Councilmember Melody Kelly.
Present.
Councilmember Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Councilmember Frank Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Mary Ford.
Here.
Councilmember Andrew Tinsky.
Here.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comment cards?
I have not received any public comment cards for
All
this
right,
evening.
we will close the public comment period. Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Mayor Paul,
Mr. Paulson,
I move that we approve the meeting agenda for Tuesday, April 21, 2026.
we have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Paul,
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for Tuesday, April 21st, 2026.
We have a motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Fuller, seconded by Ms. Ford, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on approval of the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The consent agenda is approved. Moving to public hearings, will the clerk please read the first item?
This is agenda item number 2026-097, consideration of a resolution to transmit the annual capital improvements element to the Atlanta Regional Commission. Presented by Planning and Zoning Manager Michelle McIntosh Ross.
Ms. McIntosh Ross.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight is the public hearing and request for approval of the resolution that would authorize the city to transmit the capital improvement element, known as the CIE, the annual update to the state and regional commissions for review. The CIE annual update is a required element for cities that collect development impact fees. It is a financial report of the collection and expenditures of the impact fee funds that are collected during the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. The CIE includes the impact fee eligible project list of public improvement projects for each public facility category eligible for impact fee funding, and those are public safety, recreation and parks, roads and bridges. Tonight, we have provided the draft documents prepared in accordance with the development impact fee compliance requirements. Staff recommends that the Mayor and City Council approve this resolution to transmit the CIE report to the ARC and DCA for their review.
All right. Do we have any public comment cards? No. We'll close the public hearing. You've heard the report of the Planning and Zoning Manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move that we approve Agenda Item 2026-097, resolution to transmit the annual capital improvement element to the Atlanta Regional Commission.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
I'll support.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve Agenda Item 2026-097, a resolution to transmit the annual capital improvement element to the ARC. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on Agenda Item 2026, the resolution transmitting the annual capital improvement elements to the ARC. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk, please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-098, the comprehensive plan public kickoff, also presented by Planning and Zoning Manager Michelle McIntosh Ross.
Ms. McIntosh Ross.
Greetings again. So this is the exciting news. This is the official announcement of the city's initiating an update of its comprehensive plan and the Recreation and Parks Master Plan. 2 meetings ago, on March 17th, a contract award was approved for the professional services to conduct the update of the combined efforts of the Comprehensive Plan and Recreation and Parks Master Plan. Today, we're holding the required public hearing. The Comprehensive Plan is the city's long-range policy guide. It establishes our vision for land use growth, investment, and it directly informs decisions on rezonings, capital improvements, and the broader policy direction. The Recreation and Parks Master Plan will assess the current system and provide future investment strategy for facilities and programming. This public kickoff fulfills the first public hearing requirement under the Georgia State Guidelines for Local Comprehensive Planning and provides the opportunity to inform the public of the beginning of the planning process and allow for public comment. Here's our schedule. This process will include multiple points of engagement through 2026 and into 2027, with an adoption set for mid-year of 2027. Some of the highlights on here, we have, we did our project team meeting 2 weeks after the adoption of the award, so April 6th. We are having our official kickoff today, April 21st. We will be, on our next item, new business, appointing an advisory committee, which we will engage in the next coming weeks. We will be at pop-ups, events as they come up, farmers market and all the other events that we have. We'll be engaging with focus groups and stakeholder meetings. We're having our first public open house in June. And we will be having, of course, touch points with Mayor and City Council and the Planning Commission throughout this process. And we plan, as I mentioned, to conclude in June of 2027. Tonight's public hearing, as I mentioned, is the first formal step for this process, and staff look forward to working with the Mayor and City Council and the 2B Advisory Committee that will be appointed later, and as well as the community at large in moving forward with this process. And that is my presentation.
All right. Do we have any public comment? All right. We'll close the public comment period. You've heard the report of the Planning and Zoning Manager. What's the desire of council? Well, no action is needed. I'm sorry. It's a public hearing.
Do we need to do anything?
All right.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Moving to new business, will the clerk please read the first item?
This is agenda item number 2026-099, consideration of a resolution to appoint members to the Sandy Springs Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, presented by Mayor Rusty Paul.
One of the things that we do as part of the comprehensive plan process every year, or every time we do it, is we have a Citizens Advisory Committee to kind of serve as a focus group that the consultant can work with to bounce ideas, thoughts, get feedback from these individuals. It is in no way intended to replace the public comments and the public access to the process and getting that general public feedback. But this group will meet with the consultant 4 or 5, 6 times over the course of the planning process just to provide feedback and to give thoughts and ideas to the consultant. And in putting this together, there are a lot of people who want to serve, and I get that, way more than we can ever appoint. Historically, we've put about anywhere from 12 to 14 people on this group that represent a broad spectrum of the community, and that's what I tried to do in putting this together. As I say, we have hundreds of people who are willing to serve. In trying to pare this list down to the manageable group that I think we have here, I've tried to look at people who have a couple of characteristics. One, they represent groups or organizations that have a broad network in the community, so that they have their fingers on the pulse of different segments of our community. Also, the people who are going to be involved in implementing this, like the Planning Commission and the Board of Appeals, and to some degree, the Development Authority. Historically, we've had some people on that from these groups. In this instance, I felt it was important that we have those three organizations on there. The rest of them are again, largely citizens who have been engaged in the community and have, as I say, access to different groups: the business community, health community, school groups, neighborhood groups, homeowner associations, some folks in our Hispanic community, some folks in the Asian community. I've tried to be as broad-based with putting this together as I possibly can. And so you have the list here of people from the faith community. Also people from, in the past when we've had business representatives, we've had people who largely represented our small business. We've never really reached out to our large employers, like the Fortune 500 companies. And one of my appointees, Ms. Ewing, works with those level of people in our city, companies like Mercedes and Newell and some of those, UPS, so that we can get some of their thoughts about, because they are major employers. So it's a very broad-based group of people. Got a lot of thought on it. Spent a lot of time trying to think through the qualifications I was looking for, and that I felt that the council would feel comfortable that we had a broad-based group of people here. So with that, I would ask that the council approve this list of nominees, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. But first, is there a motion to approve the list?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move that we approve agenda item 2026-099, appointing members to the Sandy Springs Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we got 2 seconds. I think Mr. Roberts got in just a second. Either that or my left ear is slightly better than my right. So we have a motion and second. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Ms. Mueller.
Is Tyler Ewing, she's not listed on here, so do we need to amend the motion?
Yeah, we'll need to, I guess, Raquel, maybe I didn't get that name to you, did I?
I'm not sure, but I'll have to go back and look at my email. But certainly, you can amend the resolution that's presented before you.
She's on. She was one of the people that I appointed. So it's Tyler Ewing with Switch Consulting.
So I amend my motion to appoint these members, including an addition of Ms. Tyler Ewing.
Yeah, that was a Scrivener's error or a mayor's error, one of the two.
And I second that.
Yes, okay. Any other discussion?
Mayor.
All right. Mr. Chinsky, we'll just work our way across.
Sorry.
I always start on this end, but we'll start on this end.
I'm not sure. Ms. Ewing is. I haven't seen a resume, and I'm not familiar with Switch Consulting. So just as and not of a point of order, but I might suggest we have an opportunity to review that before we have to vote. So is it possible we could approve the people who we got in advance and add?
Yeah, it was posted in the material. It just wasn't unlisted in the
It's just
resolution.
not. Okay. Okay.
Her resume was included.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Ford.
Mayor, thank you for your diligence in going through this process. When we were looking at the comprehensive plan kickoff a few minutes ago. I know we didn't have the opportunity to ask questions about that, but I did see that we had the dates of the steering committee meetings, or they were indicated, but the exact dates weren't given. And so one thing that was helpful for me to understand is that those meetings are also public meetings.
They are.
And another way for the public to just understand what is being discussed as part of the comprehensive plan. So getting access to those dates would be a good piece of information so people can plan ahead for that. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Paulson, then we come down this.
So just to be clear, this is an advisory committee. They don't vote on anything, but they give opinions. They meet with the consultants. Obviously, they meet with the community, and their whole idea is kind of a focus group to add information and comments to this group. But this whole comprehensive plan is eventually going to come back to us. We're going to wind up voting on this, I guess, about a year from now. Huh?
Right.
Okay.
Dr. Kelly.
Well, so with that point made, I'm just curious, why did we feel that it was important to have a council member? Is that just the custom?
As traditionally, we've had a council member on there to, make sure that the council's viewpoints are expressed during these meetings too. I appointed you, as I explained to you, because you have had more interest in particularly the housing part of the comprehensive plan, and you and I have talked about housing on a number of occasions, and I thought this would give you an opportunity to get in and dig into that and have some input in the process in addition to being a member of council.
Cool, thank you. Ms. McIntosh Ross, will your team be the touch point for this, or will it be RHI directly, or maybe a combination?
Combination, yeah. I'm the staff project manager. And,
you feel like you can give us some tea, some information on
what do you want to know?
What those of us who are going to be serving could potentially expect? I think you did this a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I witnessed. I just can't remember. But anyway, if you can give us any.
Yeah, so we'll have, as you mentioned, 5 or 6 meetings or so. We'll go over the different topics. We do plan to figure out some tasks for you guys as well, but it wouldn't be hard.
Okay.
But it's mainly to
The professor
get
gets a test.
tasks, yeah, to spread the word and to get input from a broader cross section of the community.
Okay.
That's the plan. So not just meeting here, but tentacles out into the community.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll talk.
Okay.
Bye.
Any other?
Oh, and I did want to mention that Atlanta Regional Commission, or Georgia DCA does recommend a council person on the committee as well. So it's a recommendation as well.
Mr. Chinsky.
Sort of piggybacking off of Dr. Kelly's comments. So I think this is very helpful to have a committee like this, but I do think this is also one small piece of the community outreach that a lot of us have been talking about. And I know we didn't get to ask you when you're up here on the planned public kickoff portion, but I know a number of us are also interested in the conjoint study that's going to be going out. So I view that also as a really key part of community engagement to work alongside this committee. And I guess I would just also ask, I know that's coming soon, could council have an opportunity to review those questions and how that sample is going to be selected before it goes out? Because I think a number of us would love to see that in particular. It's a little in the weeds, but just kind of curious.
We have been discussing that.
Yes, Michelle and I literally met yesterday to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I'll be putting together something to share with you all. We're kind of looking at prior examples that they've worked with other cities on. We're pulling some things from there. So I'll be sharing that with you all and a sort of a list of ideas that staff have about topics that we want to cover, and we'll get your feedback early on that. And then, of course, we can share the study as we finalize it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the agenda, item 2026-099, a resolution appointing members to the Sandy Springs Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-100. Consideration of a resolution to declare as surplus certain property owned by the city and directing disposal of the same. This is presented by buyer Erica Kelly.
Ms. Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Erica Kelly, and I'm here to present and declare the city-owned surplus properties outlined in Exhibit A. These are originated from the Fleet Department, and they are no longer needed for city operations. The fleet department has identified vehicles that are either obsolete or no longer cost-effective to maintain or otherwise unneeded for the city's usage. And we are asking that these items can be donated, recycled, or auctioned based on the condition and stability or reuse. Per the city purchasing policy, this is section 2-334 of the Code of Ordinance. All departments are required to report obsolete or unneeded goods to the purchasing agent. Once City Council has declared them as surplus, the city manager, with oversight from legal and finance, will direct their appropriate disposition, whether it's through auction or donation or recycle or trade-in or any other lawful means. So all items used will be sold as is or disposed of as is with no warranty expressed or applied and represent limited residual value to the city. So we are recommending that the approval process with a removal that will help manage the resources more effectively and responsibly. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, you've heard the report of the buyer. What's the desire of the council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-100, a resolution to declare as surplus certain property owned by the city and directing disposal of the same.
Have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve the agenda item 2026-100, resolution declaring a surplus certain property owned by the city and directing disposal of the same. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2026-100, resolution declaring a surplus certain property owned by the city. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk, please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-101, consideration of an ordinance to amend the FY 2026 Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Staffing Project budget. This is presented by Jason McCabe, who is the CIU manager at SSPD.
Mr. McCabe, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a recommendation from staff. The council approve an ordinance to amend Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant, the staffing project budget, and appropriate $288,862.62 into fiscal year 2026, allowing the police department to implement the funder-approved scope and budget changes immediately. Some background is that we were awarded as a city 2 separate public safety community violence reduction grants, an equipment and a staffing, for a total of $1,622,189.80 to support the creation and implementation of the police department's violent crime reduction team. Over the past 2 years, the department, along with city manager's office, finance department, we've implemented the team. Some implementation challenges were encountered, which led to some project adjustments. On December 2nd, 2025, proposed adjustments to the equipment and technology grant were presented to council in order to address some of these challenges and modify the project scope, and that this allowed the city to successfully complete the project before its scheduled end date. Some of the project scope issues discussed at that time, staffing issues and training that was no longer necessary in particular, also affected the related law enforcement staffing grant. On February 17th, to complete the restructured project for the equipment portion and close out the grant ahead of schedule, council approved a similar ordinance moving the remaining equipment and technology grant funds into fiscal year 2026. Last month, the OPB approved the budget amendment and scope change for the law enforcement staffing grant, which repurposes unused personnel funds for salary, fringe, and related costs to additional equipment, particularly ballistic shields, trauma incident response kits, rifle plates, and communication headsets and adapters. To align with council's previous action on the equipment and technology grant, a similar budget amendment is being requested for the staffing grant to move the $288,862.62 into this fiscal year to cover those equipment costs. Unlike the equipment grant, this will not close out the staffing grant, as the personnel costs will continue until the end of the grant in fiscal year 27 in October.
All right, you've heard the report by Mr. McCabe. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move that we approve agenda item 2026-101, amending the fiscal year 2026 Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Staffing Project budget.
Have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve agenda item 2026-101, an ordinance amending the FY 26 Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Staffing Project budget. Any discussion? Mr. Paulson.
Mayor Paul, thank you, Jason. So this $288,000, this is already appropriate. It's part of the grant money that we got 2 years ago, right? We're now shifting it. This is not extra money that we're coming up with.
Correct, sir. Yes, this is all part of the same funding that is approved. It was just marked for fiscal year 27 in anticipation, and with the scope change, we're just asking to move it to 26 so that we can use it on the equipment for the scope.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-101, an ordinance to amend the FY26 Public Safety Committee Public Safety Community Violence Reduction Grant Staffing Project budget. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-102, a resolution to authorize the submission of an application to the Georgia Law Enforcement Certification Program and participation agreement to the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police, presented by SSPD Police Chief Ken DeSimone.
Mr. DeSimone.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I bring before you a request to approve a resolution authorizing the Police Department to submit our application to the Georgia Law Enforcement Certification Program run by the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. We've had this certification since 2008. Current agreement expires July 26th of this year. Cost of participation is $515. And after this cycle, we will move from Meritorious Silver Award to Meritorious Gold Award by the GACP.
All right, you've heard the report of the Chief of Police. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move we approve agenda item 2026-102, resolution to authorize the submission of an application to the Georgia Law Enforcement Certification Program and participation agreement to the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Second. Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve agenda item 2026-102, resolution authorizing submission of an application to the Georgia Law Enforcement Certification Program participation agreement to the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. Any discussion? Mr. Paulson.
So, Chief, you said it moves us from what level to what level? How's that work?
Silver to gold.
That's good, right?
I guess it's good. Gold is more expensive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-102, resolution authorizing submission of an application to the Georgia Law Enforcement Certification Program participation agreement of the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-103, consideration of a resolution to authorize a local government lighting maintenance agreement for the T19 Roswell Road Transit and Streetscape Improvement Phase 1 project, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. Presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Tonight I bring before you first local government lighting maintenance agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for our project T19. In this case, this lighting agreement is contemplated for Phase 1 of the project T19 project, which we hope to take to construction a little later this year. The project, as I said, being currently prepared for construction. With acceptance and approval of this agreement, the city can proceed with the installation and operations of the lighting system as we go to construction with the project. The city is responsible for, as with any other lighting system, the city is installed on State Route 9 or Roswell Road. In this case, the city is responsible for all costs associated with the lighting, to include the installation of the lighting system, estimated at some $43,500 as a part of the project when let for construction. Operations, maintenance, and repair of the lighting system once installed would also be the burden of the city moving forward, as with all other lighting systems we have installed with previous projects on Roswell Road.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Chinsky.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-103, a resolution to authorize a local government lighting maintenance agreement for the T19 Roswell Road Transit and Streetscape Improvements Phase 1 project, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
A motion by Mr. Chinsky. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Chinsky, seconded by Ms. Ford, that we approve agenda item 2026-103, resolution authorizing local government lighting maintenance agreement for T0019 Roswell Road Transit and Streetscape Improvement Project. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2026-103, a resolution authorizing local government lighting maintenance agreement for T0019 Roswell Road Transit Streetscape Improvement. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk, please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-104, consideration of a resolution for the mayor's signature on the Housing and Urban Development Environmental Review for Activity project that is categorically excluded subject to Section 58.5, document for the Northwood Drive Sidewalk and Pedestrian Crossings Community Development Block Grant Project, presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and council, a little different business item before you tonight. With the Northwood Sidewalk project that we're pursuing through HUD funding, in this case the Community Development Block Grant, as a part of the city's roles and responsibilities with respect to HUD's processes and requirements, the city actually conducts the National Environmental Policy Act coordination for much of the work for our projects, especially in this case with what would be classed a categorical exclusion, relatively low-level environmental review, all things considered in the National Environmental Policy Act scheme of things, and environmental assessment and environmental impact statement much higher up on that threshold of rigor that's required to be conducted in terms of public outreach and decision making. With this tonight, this is a sidewalk project on Northwood that's within constructed or built out right-of-way. And so the environmental decisions are of a relatively low threshold here. The consultant in this case was hired and qualified to perform environmental support for us for a HUD-related project. In this case, it was a matter of making outreach to the affected agencies, be they state agencies such as the State Historic Preservation Office, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, et cetera, to confirm no impacts to environment associated with building the sidewalk and developed right-of-way again. With those positive findings and a public information open house that the city conducted on March 20, 2026, excuse me, that's typo there, 2025 for that. Staff recommends that the mayor be allowed to sign the environmental review activity report documenting for the record that we believe this to be a categorical exclusion under the guidelines provided by HUD and within the National Environmental Policy Act.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Chinsky.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-104, a resolution for the mayor's signature on the Housing and Urban Development Environmental Review for Activity project that is categorically excluded, subject to Section 58.5 document for the Northwood Drive Sidewalk and Pedestrian Crossings Community Development Block Grant Project.
Motion by Mr. Chinsky. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Chinsky, seconded by Ms. Ford, that we approve agenda item 2026-104, a resolution for the mayor's signature on the Housing and Urban Development Environmental Review for Activity project that is categorically excluded, subject to Section 58.5, document for the Northwoods Drive Sidewalk Project and pedestrian crossing. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2026-104, and I'm not going to read that whole long thing again. You know what you're voting on. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk, please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-105, consideration of a resolution to approve the list of streets and application to the Georgia Department of Transportation for the fiscal year 2026 Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant, Local Road Assistance Administration Supplemental, and to authorize the mayor to execute the application and cover letter, presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and council, as happened last year, the state of Georgia made additional funds available through the LMIG program to municipalities, termed the Local Road Assistance Administration Supplemental. For this year's case, the city has an opportunity to claim an amount of $1,159,000. Excuse me, I'm stating the wrong. Let me make sure. $1,159,632.46 in additional state funds that we recommend we apply toward the LMIG program, Local Maintenance Improvement Grant, or paving program. The city's LRA supplemental distribution, as mentioned, the application is due for these funds by June 15, 2026. With this application for LMIG funds, with this additional LRA money, we are also required, as we did with the LMIG application, which we submitted back in December 16th of last year, 2025, we'll need to provide a list of roadways, proposing which roadways to be paved with as a part of this work. What we have done is reached forward to next fiscal year's paving program to find additional roadway miles to pave. So we're pulling forward PCI score, the low PCI scores awaiting us next year, for a total of 4.63 miles to match the dollar amounts available to us here with this local roadway assistance program. So with that tonight, we recommend to you this list of streets so that we may apply for the additional monies from the state to enjoy the use of this little over $1 million in supplemental state funds for paving.
Mr. Martin, this is for the current fiscal year. How long do we have to expend those funds? If we obligate them tonight, then we're protected, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Our list is due by June the 15th.
Okay, before the end of the fiscal year.
Yes, sir.
All right, you've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-105, resolution to approve the list of streets and application to the Georgia Department of Transportation for the fiscal year 2026 LMIG grant, Local Road Assistance Administration supplemental, and to authorize the mayor to execute the application and cover letter.
We have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Second. All right, Ms. Mueller. We have a motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we approve agenda item 2026-105. Any discussion?
So, Mayor
Mr.
Paul,
Paulson.
so in addition to the 1.15 million, we now have another 1.2, whatever the number is, 2.6.
Yes, sir.
So our LMIG is actually putting there like $2.7 million, huh?
Keep boosting it up. Yes,
That's
sir.
fantastic.
This is the second or third year the state has appropriated
Yeah, bumped it
additional.
up, yeah.
Familiar with absolutely last year. So I think it's now been 3 years in a row, as you mentioned, Mayor. It's kind of late breaking last year. We didn't know it was going to happen, and then it happened very late, so we had to undertake a change order late last year in order to expend those dollars.
I think the governor signed the supplemental budget a little earlier than he did last year, which helped. Any other discussion?
Yep. I
Dr.
have
Kelly.
something. Marty, just a quick question about our paving. We're gearing up to, I guess, bid out our next assessment in the fall,
That'll
or?
be in calendar year, so I'll watch fiscal and calendar here. Calendar year 2027 is when the next PCI assessment is due to take place. So we've got about one more year's worth of
Right.
roadway list, then calendar year 27, we'll move into getting another PCI study to
Okay,
give us
so
the
you'll
plan for.
secure the vendor late this year, right?
Say
Or-
again?
You- I'm just thinking back, it looked like we did that in 20.
It should be early next calendar year that we go get the vendor.
Oh, okay.
That's,
All of
I
that
think
happens
that's what,
Q1.
I believe that's what our schedule is for that.
Okay. And just since we're talking about the timeline, so Q1 2027, and then the assessment will take the rest of 27 calendar year?
It usually takes about 6 months.
Okay. I'm just trying to imagine what fiscal year we could expect the next, to be working with a fresh assessment set, if you will.
It should be FY '28.
Yeah,
FY28.
I believe,
Okay.
yeah, I believe. I think we're on the right schedule. And
Okay.
if I need to update that, I absolutely will.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll keep our PCI consultant on schedule.
And I'm asking because I know we talked about adding legacy concrete treatments to the scope. So it may make our paving list look a little different, so I'm interested. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ms. Mueller.
So, Marty, now that we're going to be getting underway, I think we already started some paving. I think Brandon Mill Ridge, we did some work. Can you speak to the notifications that residents receive when they're about to have their roads paved?
All right, so there's a couple of, and so pavement is almost done for this year. So we're about 2 weeks away. We had a brief hiatus over the coldest months of the year, and it was all because of this kind of late change order for the LRA funds we received this past year. So what the paving contractor is paving right now and should be completed with here in about the next 2 weeks is the LRA work. And so the notifications that go along with the paving work, first inside Sandy Springs and published to a city webpage. So there ought to be hints provided within inside Sandy Springs. Here's a link. But we put the 2-week look ahead inside Sandy Springs as well. That 2-week look ahead. Week of this street from here to here is getting paved. So that's the community-facing location. And physically on the ground, about a week or so in advance is the goal. We have a series of freestanding A-frame signs that staff places out at critical intersections, start and finish, out on the roadway to be paved. They purchased a little larger A-frame to improve visibility based on some concerns about not being able to see the smaller A-frame, especially as you get toward later months of the year, darker or whatever. So hopefully that the A-frames improve the visibility as we get out to the streets there and get out. But as I mentioned, that all wraps up here in about another 2 weeks, and we're done with paving until the next let for a paving contract later this calendar year.
But we don't actually leave anything on any doors or anything, knobs. It's
No.
all just the street signs, because I know that I get questions on this. I didn't get anything, and I point them to all the things that you've said. But I didn't know if there was something else that we do.
No, that's the notifications we've used historically.
Any other discussion? Dr. Kelly and then
John
Mr.
has
Paulson.
Go ahead.
Well, I already spoke, so I guess.
All right, Mr. Paulson.
So real quick, they did paving this past fall, I think, and Marty, these signs are only about this big. So are the bigger ones ready?
They're here. They're here
They're
now.
here? Okay.
All right. So
Because those little bitty ones, you could barely see them.
Right. So they're here now.
All right, good, thanks.
Right. Just for comparison, just based on our last PCI report, we hired the vendor fall 2023, and council we received our first report May 2024. Just kind of, so that's what I was thinking, maybe 3 years apart.
Okay.
But, yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Questions on agenda item 2026-105, approving the list of streets and applications to the Georgia Department of Transportation for fiscal year 2026 local maintenance and improvement grant. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is request number 2026-106, consideration of a resolution to approve a construction agreement between the City of Sandy Springs, Georgia Department of Transportation and the Georgia Department of Transportation for the City of Sandy Springs portion of the Path 400 multi-use trail extension from Windsor Parkway to north of Baroque Circle, Phase 2, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. Presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Right. Mayor and Council, about the last administrative step required to move forward with construction of Segment 2 of Path 400. In front of us tonight is the construction agreement between the city and the Georgia Department of Transportation for Segment 2 of the Path 400 multi-use trail extension from Windsor Parkway to just north of Baroque Circle. Call it the Phase 2 project. The agreement outlines the expectations and requirements for both parties as it relates to the receipt of federal funds for the construction of the project. GDOT is the direct recipient of the funds in this case from FHWA and provides oversight over the project. With these monies, the construction agreement outlines the funding for the project. GDOT funding 80% of the project at $14,286,730.40, and the city 20%, $3,571,682.60. There are adequate funds for the city's local match within our projects. In the addition to this work, this agreement also covers some $2.1 million in funding the construction, engineering, inspection support, and materials and testing support required by the project.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, one more. In additional available funds, should those be required to implement all of the contract actions I was just talking about, the city has received as well and now has in place an additional $750,000 in grant funding from the Housing and Urban Department of Housing and Urban Development, as Congressmember McBath's office sponsored some 2 years ago, and is now through the HUD program, and that earmark has arrived here. So adequate funds within the city, adequate federal funds to support the project, and the material testing and inspection associated with it at this point. So a few more agreements or notices in place, and then we can give the contractor notice to proceed to begin construction of this project later this summer.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Ford.
Move to approve Agenda Item 2026-106, a resolution to approve a construction agreement between the City of Sandy Springs and the Georgia Department of Transportation for the City of Sandy Springs portion of the Path 400 multi-use trail extension from Windsor Parkway to north of Baruch Circle, Phase 2, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement.
We have a motion by Ms. Ford. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Ms. Ford, seconded by Mr. Chinsky, that we approve Agenda Item 2026-106, a resolution approving a construction agreement between the City of Sandy Springs and Georgia DOT for the Sandy Springs portion of Path 400 multi-use trail extension from Windsor Parkway to north of Baruch Circle. Any discussion? Ms. Ford.
Couple questions, Marty. Thank you for getting us to this point with this project. Can you just give us the update on the where we are? Is the design done? And
so one important fact, this construction contract in the eyes of the city is awarded. So the construction contract with FS Scarborough. We brought that approved construction contract to Mayor and Council on November 18th of 2025. Okay, so a little bit about process real quickly. So city, once GDOT approves a set of plans for us to take this project out to bid, we advertised that project. We collected bids and made a recommended bidder, an award to FS Scarborough, which the council endorsed in November of 2025. Subsequent to that, we then provided that recommended award to GDOT. They have to ultimately approve and then create this construction agreement in the interest of us moving forward with the construction contract with the bidder and then mobilizing for construction. So shortly after council approved that award, we transmitted the bid facts, all of the bid tabulations, all the supporting documentation regarding the contractor, the GDOT. They reviewed that. We had a couple of interrogatories back and forth over the last couple of months to satisfy the GDOT's requirements, and then they created this construction agreement that formalizes the dollars in the bid and the other dollars we've requested, the CEI, the materials testing, et cetera, in a formal construction agreement that gives us now the ability to move forward with the contractor and execute the project. So through construction or through construction bidding, ready to now award and give notice to proceed to the construction contractor to commence construction is where we are today.
so the design is completed?
It is, absolutely.
Okay. And we've talked tonight about design guidelines, and I recognize that Path 400 was not necessarily one of the components of the design guidelines, but there may be things that can be applied that we learned along the way, or are we past that point for that design?
For this design, we are with a bid, a firm bid from a construction contractor for the standards contained within the construction contract and plans that we put out for bid.
Mr. Martin, wouldn't it be fair to say that if we made changes at this point, we'd have to kind of start over? Or at least back up several steps to get approval?
And I don't know that the design guidelines, honestly, would influence much about a PATH project. And I'll give you a couple of specific reasons why I say that. In this case, I think you're very familiar with the project. It's all within Georgia 400 right-of-way.
Mm-hmm.
So never mind, well, let's do mind the fact that these are federal funds overseen by GDOT for one thing. So we'll apply state standards for how those bridges, the paths, et cetera, are constructed within it. But then again, as well, it's now resident within the state-owned right-of-way, which again kind of doubly reinforces the use of those standards there. So doesn't mean we won't have the opportunity for maybe some flourishes like some streetscape furniture, those kinds of things at select locations throughout it, Councilmember Paulson, as we may pursue in the future with perimeter, et cetera. But pretty much the design is of concrete bridges and retaining walls. And it's a lot to do with the GDOT Bridge Office and the structural review requirements, et cetera, that they're going to impose upon us in the interest of meeting those standards required to construct within a state highway right-of-way.
So basically, our ability to influence the design is very limited because it's in GDOT right away and really a GDOT project.
And the standards are fairly straightforward there with what we must comply with. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I know that we've had some other instances for the other sections that have been built where we've had to work with residents regarding some safety concerns and things. So if there were a situation like that to come up with this segment, who is the go-to for a resident? Is it the city? Is it GDOT?
It's us. It's our project to administer. So it's ours. If there needs to be a discussion about a standard, modifying a standard, it comes through the city to go to GDOT. It's a locally administered project, all said and done.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chinsky. Ms. Mueller.
Marty, we were not, at least Council Member Ford and I were not sworn in yet in November, but I believe there was some discussion around public art at that point and the opportunity for public art to be part of this project. Could you just remind us where we came out with that? Or if not, is that something that we could potentially help influence for the future?
Trying to recollect right now, because in many discussions related to other projects on public art, the art is not incorporated into the construction contract itself, so hasn't been, so our approach has been in general on the larger public works projects where is to define more so an opportunity within the project that could be a good staging point for future application. For instance, for a mural, you create that blank retaining wall that's desired for that. There have been opportunities to introduce art into some portions of the other parts of path that have been built. We're fully aware of that, so those might be some opportunities in the future as once the project is completed, then implementation of or introduction of art into the path could be done. And as well, Councilman Paulson, as we talked about at the very northern end of the segment, the part already constructed in 285-400 for us at the north end, we're looking at some augmentations, more so landscaping, street furniture that perimeter CID may be interested in introducing up at that end. So,
yeah. I'd be curious to continue the discussion offline too at some point about that
absolutely.
aspect of it.
So,
Doesn't have
but it lends itself to that, and there have been opportunities taken advantage of on the portions that have been built already to incorporate art into the project. Post-construction is more so where we see it.
Ms. Mueller?
So, Marty, the question I have is about the timing. So ballpark, high level, now we have all segments are funded. Sounds like we're going to go. Is this a 2-year to see? When can I ride my bicycle from top to bottom?
It's a 3-year construction project.
3-year construction cycle. Okay.
Correct. So we've got one that's been underway for a while, and a lot of that has to do with environmental migratory species and what times of the year you can remove trees, et cetera, in the interest of constructing the path, et cetera. So it's 3-year construction contract.
3-year construction from this year.
From the day we go notice to proceed to the contractor, which should be this summer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-106, approving a construction agreement between the City of Sandy Springs and Georgia DOT for the City of Sandy Springs portion of the Path 400 multi-use trail extension from Windsor Parkway to north of Broke Circle. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk, will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-107, consideration of a resolution to approve contract award to NGI Trenchless Pipe and Sewer Repair, Inc. to construct the trenchless stormwater pipe lining project and to authorize the city manager to execute the contract. Presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council, our staff, with consultant support, has prepared a trenchless stormwater pipelining project. And in this case, they found 12 candidate sites spread across the city that were opportune for trenchless pipelining. That meaning no excavation work, access to either end of the pipe. As long as the contractor can get adequate access, they can reinforce and stabilize deteriorating stormwater pipe buried and in place without the costly work to get at the pipe and replace the pipe. With all that said, the project developed stormwater infrastructure at those 12 locations throughout the city. And in the interest of getting bidders for that work, the city issued an invitation to bid on February 4th of this year, soliciting bids from qualified contractors. Held a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting in February as well, and bids were received on March 11th of this year. Based on the bid results and the qualifications of the contractors, the city recommends award be made to NGI Trenchless Pipe and Repair Incorporated in the amount of $227,804.50. City's cost estimate for this work was estimated at just around the $260,000 ballpark, $263,4250. And one qualification with it is, if you review the summary of bidders in the bid memo, you'll see that another contractor was the initial apparent low bidder, that being Video Industrial Services. However, they just identified a discrepancy in their bid that would have required a change to the price, making them not the low bidder any longer. Therefore, the city went with, instead, NGI Trenchless Pipe and Repair at $227, which had the good bid in that particular case. So with that, staff recommends award to NGI Trenchless Pipe and Repair in the amount of $227,804.50.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2026-107, approve a contract award to NGI Trenchless Pipe and Sewer Repair, Inc. to construct a trenchless stormwater pipelining project and authorize city manager to execute same.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Roberts, that we approve agenda item 2026-107, resolution approving contract award to NGI Trenchless Pipe to construct the trenchless stormwater pipelining project. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
Hi, Marty. You know I love this stuff, right? So,
I expected it, as a matter of fact.
first off, have we done any work with these guys before?
I believe staff has on much smaller projects. So, and I'll speak to staff experience in this case. We've done a lot of trenches pipe repair in years past. So I think between the combination of staff experience and contractor experience here, I think we've got enough experience here to render a successful project here.
And is this spin cast, or is this the lining that you pull through and cure? It just says cured in place. It doesn't say spin cast. I don't know how big these pipes are.
I believe this is pulled through.
Is it pulled through?
But I can answer you in more detail with the specific lines we're using here. I don't think there's any spin cast in that, but I believe it's pulled through and in place. So.
Okay, good. Well, I look forward to seeing the pictures of this when you guys go through this. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Marty, I'm going to take a point of personal privilege and ask you a question about a non-related project. When shall we see two-way traffic on Johnson Ferry and Mount Vernon?
Mayor and council, reports are encouraging. So I'll leave you with that. So I got a really good update today. We should see in preparation. So one, there has been more utility work than we've seen in a long time out on this first tenth of a mile of project here in the last 4 weeks. And a lot of credit to Georgia Power for getting some folks mobilized to help out there. We should see paving as soon as mid to late next week. And this won't be final paving, so I'll be very qualified with that. But paving mid to late next week, and there's probably about 7-8 business days of paving. Of course, when does the drought decide to end? The day we decide to restart paving, it looks like, if you look at the forecast. So I've got anyhow, so qualifier there. But with that paving, and then some other work that we need to do to our traffic signals, especially those two signals right here at Roswell Road, the one on Johnson Ferry, and we have to add a mast arm yet that's been in conflict. It's too close to the Georgia Power high voltage circuit that's just feet away from it. So we're going to have to get some special, it's going to have to be Georgia Power is going to have to de-energize for a day or a couple hours while the contractor puts that final mast arm. I'm talking way in the weeds now. We're making sausage here, Mayor. Apologize for that. But anyhow, so they've got to get that mast arm up so they can hang traffic signals on it to get the signals into the new operation for two-way traffic. So I'm looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of the 15th of May to have two-way traffic on Johnson Ferry and Mount Vernon Highway. And the further east you go, the more normal the traffic gets. We've got a few meanders we have to take with the travel lanes. There's a pole or two in the way between here and the library that we've got to address. We're going to barricade that in the interest of providing safe two-way traffic around it. But we see two-way traffic coming to these two intersections by somewhere on or about the 15th of May, it looks like. So promising news there, I think. So, and then some more utility relocations, finally get the poles out of the way, and we'll put the final.
And there'll be a lot of work left to do.
Yes, sir.
You know, we've got landscaping, we've got other.
A lot of utility wreck out still to go.
A lot of things left to be done, but at least we'll be bi-directional by around the 15th of May, right?
Yes, sir. That's the plan. We hope to get, as well with our communications folks, get out some word about the new traffic condition. They're already putting that together. I've seen an initial run of that, explaining the two-way traffic scheme that'll be out there. So I think we're ready for the rollout for it. I think we're ready to put some curb line down and hopefully get some paving down here in the next week or two, along with a little signal work, and then get that. And then, as you recollect, with the final utility deconstruction out there, we did take the top off of a major transmission pole out there. The rest of it still remains right now. It's carrying some wires that we still, with Georgia Power, have to wreck out there as well. So a good bit of utility demolition still to go. That'll take a chunk of the summer to take care of there. But as we get more into that, we'll have a better prognosis on when we put the final nail over there. But two-way traffic target is May 15th.
All right, thank you. Returning to regular order, we have a motion and a second to approve Agenda Item 2026-107, a resolution approving contract award to NGI Trenchless Pipe and Sewer Repair to construct the trenchless stormwater pipelining project and authorize city manager to execute the contract. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Clerk, please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2026-108. Consideration of a resolution to accept the transfer of ownership between the Georgia Department of Transportation and the City of Sandy Springs for Project P0002, Abernathy South Greenway. This is presented by Director of Recreation and Parks, Brent Walker.
Mr. Walker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. When the Georgia Department of Transportation constructed the Johnson Ferry Road, Abernathy Road widening project, they quitclaimed the acquired right-of-way to the city in 2014, but retained remnants of the total acquisitions and some of the right-of-way that was required with that project. With this action, GDOT is now quitclaiming any and all of its rights held in those parcels and the right-of-way. These parcels lie in the intersection of River Valley Road and Johnson Ferry Road, the intersection of Bridgewood Valley Drive and River Valley Road, along Johnson Ferry Road from Abernathy Road southward to Longacre Drive, and along the south side of Abernathy Road from Longacre Drive to Wright Road. The acquisition of these parcels will allow the city to continue with the Abernathy South Greenway project to provide trail additions and stabilization, drainage and erosion control with new rain gardens, stream bank restoration, and improved pedestrian crossings at existing crosswalks. With that, I open it up to any questions you may have.
All right, you've heard the report of the Director of Recreation and Parks. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Ms. Mueller.
I move that we approve Agenda Item 2026-108, consideration of a resolution to accept the transfer of ownership between the Georgia Department of Transportation, GDOT, and the City of Sandy Springs for Project P0002, the Abernathy South Greenway.
Motion by Ms. Mueller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Mueller, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve Agenda Item 2026-108, a resolution accepting the transfer of ownership between the Georgia Department of Transportation and Sandy Springs. Any discussion? Ms. Mueller.
So I'm really excited so we can finally actually get construction going. So can you just go over the schedule again? Are we going to go out to bid this summer and construct in the fall? Can you just go over that?
Sure. So the project is fully completed as far as design goes. It is permitted. We're just met with the designers last week to start putting together the technical manual and the bid document. So we expect that to go out in May. And then as soon as that's awarded by council, we will mobilize. I can't give you a timeline on when construction will start, but the hope is sometime.
It's about a year project, I think, is what you said before.
At least, or more, yeah. It's pretty substantial.
All right. This has been around for a while, so thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2026-108, resolution accepting transfer of ownership between the Georgia Department of Transportation, City of Sandy Springs for project P002, Abernathy South Greenway. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Thank you, Mayor.
The item is approved. Moving to mayor and council reports. Mr. Paulson, I think you had some cars out on the lawn this weekend.
Did. So those of you that were here Sunday, I'm sure you had a great time. Those that weren't, you missed it. There are cars out there that, there are 124 cars, I think, all in. The most expensive was a $5 million LaFerrari, which when I save up my council money, I'm going to buy one of these days. What a stunning piece of equipment. But all kinds of cars, all kinds of people. We had thought there'd be around 3,000 attendees. They sold over 4,000 tickets. And I'll leave you with, I guess, a couple of comments. Every driver I talked to and everybody that knows about car shows said that the quality and caliber of cars at the show was the kind of car you'd see at a show in Pebble Beach, California. So we're talking high end. And this is strictly because of Caffeine and Octane. Caffeine and Octane is a group that took this project on. We paid the manpower costs for the people that actually worked it that day. Other than that, they organized the whole darn thing for free. They collected tickets, and they went out and they hand-picked cars to come to this, which is actually a pretty rare thing for them to do. But it's an invitation. It went over so well. We're having conversations with the Sandy Springs Police Foundation board and members about doing this again next year. Everybody said this is a fantastic venue with City Hall in the back, the green and everything else. So anyway, it's a fantastic show, and I look forward to doing it next year, and hopefully we will, and have even more cars and more people. Fantastic day.
Well, thank you. It was great. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be here, but I've heard great reports. When my wife comes home impressed by all those muscle cars, you can tell that something magnificent had happened. Any other reports, conversations? All right, Ms. Carlisle, financials.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. We are reviewing February 2026 unaudited financials. We are at 66.67% of the fiscal year. Revenues are at 87.05%. Expenditures are at 57.02% of the approved budget. All the departments are operating within the approved budget, and this concludes your report for February 2026.
All right. Any questions of the CFO? Mr. Paulson.
Mayor Paul, thank you. Real quick, the property taxes that we picked up, it's at 103% of budget. Have we got about everything that we're going to get out of the property taxes for this year? Do you know?
We tend to get maybe two smaller amounts before we close the fiscal year.
Okay, a little more to come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Carlisle. We need an executive session for the purposes of real estate and litigation. Is there a motion to move into an executive session?
Mayor Paul, I move that we suspend regular order and move into executive session for the purposes of real estate and litigation.
We have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we suspend regular order and move into executive session for the purposes of real estate and litigation. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the executive session. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are in executive session. There will be no further business conducted this evening. We will simply return to this room and return to regular order and adjourn for the evening. Thank you very much. All righty. let's dismiss this and get out of here. 8:53. Mr. Paulson moves that we return to regular order. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Roberts. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on return to regular order. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. We're back in regular order. Mr. Paulson moves adjournment. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Roberts. All in favor? Opposed, no. We are adjourned at 8:54.